We've gone now, my friends, to part 86, and this is the very end of chapter 20 of Revelation. What might be the vices which correspond to the angels? Anger, selfishness, greed, lust, envy, jealousy, stubbornness. How can these vices, because it says the devil and his angels, that's what Jesus said, will be cast into the fire. How can these vices be cast into the lake of fire? In the same way the death and the grave will be cast into it, they will be brought to an end in just as real a sense as the lives of the damned will be brought to an end. By the lake of fire, so the lake of fire, of course, by definition, is something that would wipe out everything that's thrown into it. So these vices like pride, lust, anger will themselves be brought to an end in just as real a sense as the actual bodies of the damned would be. When the lives of the damned are destroyed in the lake of fire, everything that those lives represent will be destroyed as well. That will apply to all who will be thrown into the lake of fire right up to the end of the 1,000 years. What will be destroyed in the lake of fire will not be human nature itself, but human nature gone wrong, because there's some aspects of human nature that are fine, but it's human nature that went wrong, and that's really what the devil represents, and so too Satan. It's human nature that goes wrong, that automatically is opposed to God, and that is automatically an accuser of God, because God stands for truth and justice. Now here I'm going to bring in a joke. This is definitely not from the Bible, but sometimes I think, although this is a dreadfully serious subject, sometimes it's no harm to see the lighter side. This doesn't, of course, take away from the very serious issues involved. So a joke about heaven and hell. The only plumber in Dublin to charge reasonable rates died. Due to an administrative mix-up, he was sent to hell. Eventually it was realised in heaven that there was an honest plumber in the wrong place. St. Peter got on the hotline to Satan. St. Peter said, "Have you an honest plumber there?" Satan said, "Yes." St. Peter said, "Well, send him up. He is ours." Satan said, "You cannot have him." St. Peter said, "What do you mean?" Satan said, "I am getting him to put in air conditioning." I mean, it's only an Irishman would have come up with it. So can you imagine then he would certainly have his work cut out putting air conditioning in hell. It is going to be really cool down here soon, said Satan. St. Peter said, "Send him up or we will sue." Satan laughing, "You will sue, and just where do you think you will get a lawyer?" So good old Satan said, well, Peter, mate, are you telling me that you have one single lawyer in heaven? That's the comment, I'll definitely comment on the legal profession. I'm not going to say any more about that.
No, you don't need to.
Otherwise I might incriminate myself. So this joke is in Ireland's Own magazine of the 20th of November 2020. It is on page 62. It is part of the Lilt of Irish Laughter page. I mean, we Irish certainly are known for our sense of humour, all right. And the magazine is produced weekly at Channing House, Rose Street, Wexford Town, Ireland. So we now come on to the Great White Throne. And that is certainly some pleasant change from what we've been just talking about. The Great White Throne, Revelation chapter 20. "I saw a great white throne and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was no place for them." That's from the King James Bible. Here's what the Catholic Knox version says. I saw a great throne, all white, and one sitting on it, out whose glance earth and heaven vanished, and were found no more. Times the note. The word throne is mentioned in 11 chapters, previous chapters, that is, of Revelation. In the vast majority of cases, it refers to the throne of David, which will be set up just after the second coming, and on which Jesus will reign. A great white throne. This is the first mention of a white throne. White is the colour of goodness. It is still talk about the throne of David. It will be wonderful from the start. Still, the colour white will stand for some new feature that will be added to it at this point. This point is the end of the 1,000 years. The second judgment will take place then, of course, and all the worldly ones from the mortal population will then be made immortal and will join the saints at David's throne. I saw him that sat on the throne, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away. So at the end of the 1,000 years, and that will be the completion of the throne of David. So the earth and the heaven fled away. Well, Jesus will be the one sitting on the throne, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, from whose face, the Catholic Good News says, from his presence. The mouth is part of the face. Jesus will issue directives on how to shape the new world order at the end of the 1,000 years. The earth and the heaven fled away. Jesus will give instructions as to how to bring this about. Heaven stands for the ruling class of the world. Earth stands for the common people, the rule. At the end of the 1,000 years, there will be no common people. There will only be immortal saints. The saints will have no one to rule over. The roles of the rulers unruled will have come to an end. That is the sense in which heaven and earth will vanish away. And that, my friends, is the end of this chapter 20.
Do you want to finish? Or go? Have you got?
No, we'll finish. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.